On today's show, Game 3 is a must-win for the Dallas Mavericks, and we'll tell you why. On today's
Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks.
NBA champions.
He hits! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show. Making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. The best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day. Leave a 5-star review on every Apple Podcast, Spotify, every platform that you listen on. Like the video on YouTube and comment anything below. Or show up here at Four Corners Brewery.
That's right.
Where we're here live.
These are the real fans. If you're not here right now, stop DMing me.
The Raccoon Squad showed up in droves here. We're here at Four Corners Brewery. We're live, and I'm here with
the one, the only.
You can't say that about yourself.
Never duplicated, never replicated.
From the great Slightly Biased YouTube channel, what you got for me, Slightly Biased?
Feeling good. The energy in here is great. And you wouldn't know they were down 2-0. But we're 24 hours away from a huge Game 3, and I feel good about it. I really do. I have to be honest with you.
They were showing Game 2 on that TV over there in the corner, and it was triggering me just a little bit.
Yeah, it was very depressing. I'm not going to lie. I was depressed.
Today's show, we'll talk about Porzingis' injury. We'll talk about how that could affect the Dallas Mavericks. We'll talk about how that changes things for both the Mavs and the Celtics a little bit. And we'll talk about Kyrie and his role in all this. But Slightly, I think we got to start here. Game 3 is a must-win for the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, never in history has it been done. It wouldn't be done by this Mavericks team against this Celtics team, just straight up. So
it wouldn't be. You have no faith in it.
No. They wouldn't come back down 3-0 against this Celtics team. It's never happened in the history of the NBA. And I just think because basketball is such a, the best team wins more often than not in a series. Baseball, other sports, you get that randomness, and that can open up the door for a 3-0 comeback, but there's a reason it's never been done in basketball. It's very difficult to win 4 straight games if you're not better than the other team. And that's just kind of where we're at. There is obviously a talent advantage for the Celtics, but, Luka and Kyrie can cancel a lot of that stuff out, and you haven't gotten Kyrie yet. So you win tomorrow night, and you're back in business in a major way.
We haven't, yeah. And we haven't gotten the 2 stars completely yet. They've both been compromised. Luka, with the injury, he's been wrapped up in so many different ways. He's had they talked about he had an injection for his chest contusion. I'm sure he's had injections for all kinds of other things too, because, man, it just seems like every week he's coming out with something new. There's an ankle, there's a knee, there's the chest, something with him. And he's been dealing with it all and trying to work through it all. But it's left him in a compromised state where all of a sudden all of the work that he did to get his defensive reputation back up to respectable and to a place where you're like, oh man, I feel good about where Luka is. Just gone completely in the toilet. And now all we're seeing now is just these highlight reels and clips over and over of Luka getting blown by. How much of that is the scheme of the Mavericks kind of wanting to usher guys into the lane, or Luka just not being good at defense so far this finals?
Well, it's a little bit of both for sure. That's how NBA narratives are. We're going to focus on the negatives, and it's easier for us to watch a play and say, oh, well, Tatum blew past Luka on that play. That's bad defense. And little do these people know, and they don't know at all, the Mavs' defensive scheme all postseason long is, we're cool with you getting into the paint because we have rim protectors. Now, against the Celtics team, that's not the best defensive strategy maybe, because we know that they're not driving to finish at the rim, they're driving to kick out to shooters, and that's what they've done so far. And yeah, Luka hasn't been very good defensively in this series. And another part of that is the Celtics all have athletic players, and Luka can handle his own against more methodical players, I guess I should say, that don't rely on athleticism and more rely on moves and stuff like that. So yeah, it hasn't been a great series so far for Luka defensively, but that shouldn't take away, like you were saying, from his legitimately good defense in the first 3 series of this postseason, right?
It will, though.
But that's just how it is. That's the stupid thing we have with NBA discourse. If you make the finals and don't perform well, it's worse than not making it at all.
Well, the whole thing about LeBron versus Jordan. Jordan's 6-0.
Yeah.
That's it. LeBron, he's made it more times in the finals.
10 straight finals.
But he failed more times than Jordan, so then it doesn't matter. It's
right. It's
didn't Michael Jordan say I missed more shots than anyone else in NBA history? Didn't he say that?
Wayne Gretzky said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
And then Michael Scott said that.
Yep.
On top of that. Luka also said today at practice that their defense has been good enough to win games. And I've been saying that through these first 2 games. Their defense has been good enough. You hold the Celtics to 107, 105 points. There's been mistakes. There's been things that they haven't done right. I mean, the Mavs defense has not been as elite as maybe it's been, but you wouldn't expect that against the number 1 offense in the NBA that was just like the most efficient offense we've ever seen in NBA history.
Yeah.
But their defense, I feel like, has been good enough.
Numbers-wise, sure.
You don't buy that. I do, but you don't.
After rewatching, I don't think their process in Game 2 is sustainable. Like I think
the Celtics or the Mavs.
The Mavs defensively.
Yeah.
The Celtics, if they get the same looks in Game 3 they did, especially the second half of Game 2, they probably feel very good about the remainder of this series. So there's definitely some stuff they need to clean up. But ultimately, he's right in the sense that you look at just the scoring numbers for the Celtics in the first 2 games of the series, definitely was at a place where the Mavericks could have easily won those 2 games. But offensively, they just haven't shown up in any real way so far, outside of Luka.
They really haven't. What are you looking for Luka to do in Game 3? Because it's a must-win. He's got to come out. Does he have to set the tone? Does Kyrie have to set the tone? Because we've also have been dealing with a Kyrie that's had these swings, these scoring swings, and has not played well through 2 games.
I think a big first quarter from Kyrie would really go a long way, just for the mentality of the team, beyond anything else too. But
a vibes quarter? The Mavs need a vibes quarter?
Right, because that's exactly what happened in Game 1 against the Timberwolves. Kyrie went crazy in the first half, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, we're really here." Yeah, like this guy's not messing around. So here we go. So I think that would really help. But for Luka, just limit the turnovers. Easier said than done, obviously. But it was 8, right?
Yeah.
That's a little too much. And then you have to just, and this is true for multiple players on the team, but defensively there has to be a little bit better effort just in the first 1 or 2 seconds of your guy having the ball. You can't your guy can't blow past you the moment he touches the ball.
Yeah, an immediate blow by.
Right.
Because eventually guys are going to get by you. That's just the NBA. That's how it works. You can't defend with your arms. Like there's just no way that you could stay in front of a guy unless you're elite defender Jrue Holiday or whoever else. But even then, guys are going to get by you. But yeah, you have to put up some kind of resistance. And honestly, the resistance is just to let the rest of the guys behind you get set or come over and help, and to be able to play the actual defense that the Mavs want to play.
I just read your shirt for the first time. Get this man a recovery beer ASAP.
A Slovenian Mavs fan made me this shirt and gave it to me.
That's a sick shirt, actually.
He made the Pravi DPOY shirt that I wore after Game 3 of the West Conference Finals, and made this.
This guy hit me up. I already have a storefront. We can get these shipped out immediately.
But yeah, from Luka, defense has got to be a little better. Are you nervous about him getting another injection? Feels like he's slowly falling apart in front of us.
Well, the chest injury, to me, how compromising is that for your play? Is that just a pain tolerance thing? Because if so, that doesn't concern me more than like a knee injury where it's like, I actually can't plant off this knee. Like me stepping back, I can't generate enough the space that I'm usually generating on step backs. So I don't know. The injection stuff doesn't bother me. I inject myself with stuff every day. So what's the difference?
Hold on, dude.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Can't have that. This is a family-friendly show, slightly. Although there are no kids in the audience, so maybe we can.
I was talking about steroids.
Oh, okay. Your head was getting bigger, I thought.
Yeah.
So from Luka, the defense has got to be better. From Kyrie, I'm interested to see, does he come out and try and set a tone early, or try and get his shot going a little bit earlier? Because I've been saying this over and over again. I feel like the shots that he took were okay shots in Game 2. They were Kyrie makeable shots.
And that's the thing with Kyrie, too, is he takes such difficult shots that he makes look so easy that when they're not falling, it's like, oh, my God, Kyrie's never going to make a shot again. But then that's just like the type of shots that he lives with and usually makes. So I think being home again, I want to, if you're going to the game, I want to, anytime Kyrie touches the ball, I think there should just be like a thunderous applause because he's just been so used to just getting destroyed in Boston that there needs to be some, we're here for you.
Overcompensate like the Celtics fans did for Porzingis.
Right. They treat.
Oh my gosh, let me tell you.
That?
They were cheering for Porzingis like he was next to God.
Like Paul Pierce or something coming out the tunnel.
Paul Pierce didn't get the same reception that Porzingis did.
Now I have some theories on why that is, but I'm not going to share it.
Because Porzingis didn't poop his pants, or
Paul Pierce definitely pooped his pants. But that's not the theory I have.
I walked by him in the tunnle on the at the end of the game, and I just wanted to look at him and be like, "You remember when you pooped your pants?" It's like the intrusive thoughts you just can't have. Like you just can't let that happen. All right, coming up, let's talk about Porzingis. Let's talk about that injury. Let's talk about how it changes things for the Mavs and for the Celtics. If he plays, if he doesn't play, because the Celtics have said he's day-to-day. So we'll talk about that and more coming up.
We're not buying that.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has more props and odds that you can use to get in on the action on sports. Go check it out. New customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. And I apologize to everybody for not being able to skip the ad here in person. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and add to your summertime bucket bill. Go check it out. They had Mavs and Celtics game 2. It was minus 1.5, and then after the Porzingis news, it moved to minus 2.5. So feeling good about that Dallas Mavericks line in game 2 and game 3. If you are favored in game 3 after losing the first 2 games,
that's pretty shocking. I'm not going to lie.
You're more likely to win. Like I think it's 80% or something like that. So
okay.
FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
That's a real stat?
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, out here at Four Corners Brewery, here live.
It's a good crowd.
Appreciate each and every one of you for listening to the show. If you're out there, if you're listening from whatever country, we appreciate there's people from different countries here. Somebody from Germany, Slovenia,
Wow.
Istok is coming.
Look what basketball does to us, man.
Basketball brings us together, but
Global
Mavs
game.
bring us together. Bernardo brings us together.
Shout out to Bernardo.
Shout out to Bernardo at the bar, keeping us. I was gonna use a really bad word there. I'm not gonna use it.
I've only had one beer, guys. I gotta say, everyone in the comment section always assumes I'm hammered. I've only had one beer, guys. On a little bit of an empty stomach. So,
it was a yard. It was a yard.
Yeah, true.
He did have one. The Porzingis injury. Let's talk about that because I talked about it a little bit earlier, but Porzingis suffered a torn medial retiniculum. Had you heard of that word before?
Now, I saw, well, I don't even know if I want to say this on here. I saw a tweet that I don't know how reliable it is, that there's only been like 60 of these in recorded medical history or something like that.
Of all humans?
See, like, I don't know if that was true or not, but I saw that tweet because they did say it was a rare injury.
Yeah.
I just thought that was such a weird way to preface an injury. It's like, this is a rare one.
Hey, listen.
KP's really deep in his back right
He's
now.
day to day, but this injury has only happened to 60 humans
Yes.
of the
In recorded history.
40 billion in history.
This could have been a big injury in medieval times before they started keeping records. We're
not coming
sure.
back from a medial retiniculum. You're not coming back from that.
There's no way he plays in this series.
You think he's done for sure?
Yes. I'm not falling for any of the mind games, and I will say, I don't know when this injury happened.
Wait, which part is the mind game?
This whole we don't know.
He's
He might
day to
be
day.
back.
We'll see if he plays.
There's simply no way he's playing in this series.
Okay, so
again.
the part that makes me think that he may play is that they announced the injury, and then he goes out and speaks to the media right afterwards.
They did a whole press release for an injury. Like, that is
tough.
This isn't like hey, KP woke up this morning with like a knee thing. We're going to figure it out. And the next thing you know, he's out. This is like hey, press release, by the way. This is something we've rarely ever heard of.
Like, when do teams release press releases? Like, after you lose a Game 7 really bad at home, like you release a press release, right? If it's something that's that magnitude, you release a press release for it. Do you have any experience with that?
Well, I think so. I think I could remember one off the top of my head.
It always gives.
It does. It's funny because like this. Here we are in the finals talking about the Phoenix Suns, but that's just how insufferable they were for that 1 year.
Which fan base was worse, the Suns or the Celtics right now? Which one was worse, the Suns fan base or the Celtics?
The Suns were pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie.
Celtics is some recency bias because the
Celtics are historically bad, and we've known that forever. Like the Celtics fan base
grade
has
them on a
always been
curve?
terrible. Yeah, I'll grade them on a curve. The Suns had that we're usually never good, now we're good annoyance level to them.
Yeah, there's something about that.
There absolutely is.
And that they didn't get Luka, and then that there was
they had Chris Paul.
There was some if you have Chris Paul,
you have to defend him in roundabout ways.
But so you think this is mind games with Porzingis? You don't think that there's?
Well,
you think he's just out for the rest of the series?
Maybe mind games isn't fair because maybe they are we'll see how he feels, but I really doubt he plays again.
I saw Gary Washburn have a report on Twitter, the great Boston Globe columnist, that you can since the whole the remedial retinicula of all the things that I heard from Brian Suterer, Jeff Stotts, and the guys that are smarter than know that kind of stuff. It's basically something that wraps around the tendons around your ankle, and so you can do that. You can simulate that with a brace. And so if you put a brace around it, maybe like he could still play it. So I think they're going to try that and see what happens. And so Gary Washburn seemed to think he was going to play. He also covers the Celtics, so,
it would just be, considering KP's history, it'd be very surprising to me if he played. But then I will say, like, I'm assuming that happened on that play where he fell down in game 2.
They said it's unrelated to the calf injury. Like, that's one of the weird parts about this whole injury is that it does nothing to do with the calf injury.
All right. Well, that was late in the game, and he got subbed out. That injury, other injury he suffered. And, there was a play right after that where Kyrie just blew right past him like it was nothing and got an easy layup. So I don't know if even like a compromised KP is what the Celtics would even want, or do you go, like, would you rather have Luke Cornett out there? Like, I don't know.
And Porzingis is already only playing like 22 minutes.
True, yeah.
So then, like, okay, so let's start there then. What does a compromised KP do for the Mavs and for the Celtics?
Well, I think you still have his floor spacing out on the floor offensively. Now, how much would the Mavericks be willing to test that? I don't know, because this is a do or die, you lose and your season's over game.
For the Mavs.
For the Mavs, yeah. So are you cool with if KP does miraculously play tomorrow night? Are you cool with letting KP shoot a couple 30-foot threes and now all of a sudden he made them and it's a 9-point swing in a do or die game?
He's just like old Dirk and he's just out there like, I'm here to shoot from this very spot and nowhere else.
Or are you comfortable doing like what you did in game 1? It's like, we're going to go at him 5 times in the first quarter, and then he has 3 blocks.
Oh,
that's the thing is your back is up against the wall, and there's
they've been throwing him out on the perimeter guarding the corners though.
Yeah.
Like they haven't necessarily been keeping him in the post necessarily. So for him to like chase around, I just feel like a compromised KP would be putting him in a compromising situation.
Yeah, you'd have to run him. You'd have to run him through every single action.
Yeah, bring his man up to the
staggered
screen.
Screens, whatever. Yeah. If they try to pre-switch, which the Celtics do a bunch, and try to just continuously switch him to where he's staying in the corner, we will run 4 screens until you are up here.
I'm going to throw John Corrales' words back at him. When I said, what if the Celtics don't get enough threes? Like, what if the Mavs run them off the line? He said, try again. So I'm going to say, if the Mavs don't get switches against Porzingis, try again.
If
he's compromised, because that's what you have to do.
And if he doesn't play, that will be applied to Luke Cornett as well. You will be involved in this play whether you want to be or not.
So with Luke Cornett, so let's say Porzingis doesn't play at all. So Horford's been playing like 29 minutes. I don't know if you want to up that anymore.
Yeah.
And add to that.
Agreed.
That means they're either playing small or Luke Cornett plays. What does that do for the Mavs?
Luke Cornett's really actually not that bad, and he's been like a decent-ish
he's been okay,
rim protector, but he is not KP on the mobility scale.
Right.
So you draw him out and let Luka, Kyrie do their thing against him. I think it's going to be a murder. And then that gives you like what you're wanting offensively, where, okay, Luka has beat Luke Cornett, Kyrie's beat Luke Cornett, we have to pinch in a little bit, now we're getting kickouts. And then offensively, obviously, that changes the whole entire landscape because they don't have that floor spacing anymore. And that's, I think, where it really comes into play. So
one of the things that I was thinking about is, do the lobs come back if they have to play Cornett? Because then all of a sudden, like you said, he's going to be guarding a big. They're not going to put him on the perimeter necessarily. Then the Mavs get back into, all right, this is what we do, our bread and butter. Come up, bring Cornett's man up, and then Luka just destroys those types of bigs. Porzingis and Horford have been specifically made to not have to deal with that. And the pre-switching that you mentioned before, the Mavs haven't been able to get into that kind of action. But with Cornett out there, maybe they can get back into that. And if the Mavs could bring back lobs, they haven't gotten really any besides a couple when Luka's gotten doubled this whole finals. If they bring that back, that's a big development.
Yeah, none of their lobs have even been like Luka getting downhill on a screen and one of the bigs rolling. They've been, like you said, Luka getting doubled on the perimeter and then Derrick Jones Jr. And going back and rewatching, that specific lob just felt like a defensive breakdown by the Celtics, like a very rare one where they weren't supposed to do what they did, and Derrick Jones Jr. was just by himself.
Yeah.
And the other one was the same thing, Luka getting trapped on the perimeter and finding Derrick. Was it Lively or no, it was Kyrie to Gafford. Kyrie had a lob to Gafford in this game. I went back and I watched, but that was like a transition thing. But that'll be really interesting to see. I just the way that they've talked about this injury, I'd be very surprised if he played.
Them calling it a serious injury and then also saying that he's day to day is just such like
that's mind games.
Those things don't go together.
That's 100% mind games. You're not going to say immediately.
It's not working. It's working for me because I feel like I've gone in circles now with this.
If you're the Mavs, you just show up tomorrow and play basketball, and whatever adjustments you have to make before the game or when the game starts, you make. So hopefully the Mavericks aren't falling victim to any mind games at this point.
For sure. Coming up, let's talk about the things that we have to see in Game 3. What has to happen in Game 3 for the Mavs to get this game? Talk about all that and more coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by Betterhelp. Betterhelp is there for you when you have something that you want to talk about. If you have anxiety, if you have things that you need to talk about, if you can't come out to a bar and hang out with friends and talk through things, if you don't have anybody like that, you may need to talk to a therapist. You may need to talk to somebody who can ask you the certain questions that you need to ask. That is there, that can be there as an unbiased source that can help you. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. You can change at any time, no additional charge, all that. Get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Slightly, we're here at Four Corners Brewery.
Let's get another one.
What else could I say that could make this crowd?
Mavs in 7, baby.
If you don't believe,
That's a good one, too.
There you go. How many more things can we come up with?
Well, I mean, we could be here all night, really.
We'll come up with some more later. I think this might get them going. One of the things in Game 3 the Mavs absolutely have to have. Let's just start throwing them out. Could be anything.
A win. You need Kyrie to score, obviously, and you need to make threes. Those are
the only two things you need.
No, not the only two, but those are the two biggest things.
The making threes thing, they're really cutting out the corners. Like there are no corner threes allowed in this. Do the Mavs need to set up differently? Do they need to look for above the break threes a little bit more? Because PJ Washington's got a couple. Like, do the Mavs need to just set guys up instead of the corners and set them up there? Set them up at the top of the key.
I was just about to say maybe PJ Washington gets a few pick and pops or something above the break threes. It's funny listening to the broadcast and they're always like, "Well, PJ loves the corners more," and I was like, that was not the case for like.
We didn't think you could hit a corner three in the regular season.
That was not. He loved those above the break threes after the trade deadline, and he's been much better in the corner this postseason, but. He's comfortable in those above the break threes, so maybe let him get a few more threes off. And I think, Kyrie starts scoring. That's just going to be a trickle-down effect where the Celtics' defensive scheme is going to have to change a little bit. They're going to have to bring a little bit more help on Luka and Kyrie, and that'll just naturally open up the corner threes a little bit more. So I really think it starts with Kyrie Irving. It
does. It really does.
That's the biggest thing for the Mavs right now.
If Luka is still a constant, if he's the same he was in Game 1 and Game 2, and especially Game 2 with the playmaking when he started to get doubled, if he's the same in both of those games that he is in Game 3, then yes, it's got to come from Kyrie, and he's just got to make the shots. I mean, we can talk about adjustments, we can talk about everything, but it really comes down to your second best player is not playing like your second best player right now.
I mean, sometimes it really is as simple as the team that scores the most points win, and you need guys on your team who are scoring points, and especially if it's your second best player.
The make or miss league mantra, it's true.
It is true in a lot of ways. I mean, there's definitely schematic things that I'm sure that they're talking about and working on that our basketball brains can't fully comprehend exactly, but
speak for yourself.
I mean, they'll probably be throwing some terminology out there that I would never even understand in a million years. But it's just if Kyrie has another stinker, it's hard to win because we talk about it. It's like the 3 through 8 is so much better for the Celtics. It just is. So your 1 and 2 have to be that much better than the Celtics 1 and 2 collectively.
Yeah.
And that door's been open. Tatum's shot terribly in this series. Jaylen Brown's been really good, but he hasn't been he was really good in Game 1, but Game 2 he was just solid.
Well, and not unguardable where you go, oh my God.
Right, yeah.
Just put up 30 and we couldn't do anything about it.
Agreed. So Luka remains where he's been at the first two games, and Kyrie has, a 25, 27-point game pretty efficiently. I think the Mavs could very easily win Game 3 at home.
What do you need to see from Derek Lively? Because he's kind of had up and down games. We talked about him as he's probably the Mavs' third most important player at times. Yeah. And he's made mistakes, but he's done some positive things too. It's just really been a mixed bag from him. What do they need from him in a Game 3?
Well, hopefully being at home might slow things down. It's looked a little bit fast for him at times. We've seen travels and it's him trying to do a lot of things like in Game 2, he jumped, tried to save a ball from going out of bounds under the basket and threw it in, and it went to, I think, Jaylen Brown, and it led to an easy point on the other end. That's that he's trying to contribute. The game just feels pretty fast for him currently in the finals, which hasn't really been the case at all this postseason, to his credit. It's just kind of insane to say, but maybe being at home And Kyrie had this isn't verbatim or anything, but Kyrie had a quote in a presser. I don't know if it was today or yesterday or whatever, but he was just pretty much like, yeah, now we know we have some guys who know what it feels like now, and after these 2 games in Boston, and hopefully we'll be a little bit more reeled in Game 3. And I think that could apply to Dereck Lively for sure.
Yeah, I think the guy that benefits the most from, hey, Porzingis may not play, is Dereck Lively.
For sure.
Right? Like, if he doesn't play, then all of a sudden Lively's not getting pulled out to the three-point line. He's having to defend out there. He's having to, figure out where his, how he impacts defense. Because there's a couple times in the game where all of a sudden he's in the paint, where he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But they have 5 on the perimeter, and you go, all right, Luke, 2 players on one side are guarding 3 guys, and that's just not sustainable.
Well, I saw some Celtics fans theorize this, and I'm sure it has
to do. You could say literally anything right now, and I would believe it.
Well, I don't know. I'm sure this is more KP's minute restriction, but that big reason why they brought KP off the bench was to really neutralize Lively's defensive presence.
Right. Yeah,
because they knew Lively would be coming off the bench, and if they just kind of matched those minutes with KP, then he'd be dragged out to the perimeter. Even because living with Horford shooting threes is an adjustment you can have.
Yeah,
and if he burns you, which he's definitely capable of doing, then so be it. KP is a different beast, especially the way that he's played in the first 2 games shooting-wise. So we'll see, man. I'm feeling pretty good about Game 3.
Where's the confidence level?
I feel very confident they're going to win tomorrow night.
Are we confident? We feel like they're going to win Game 3?
I wasn't just saying that to try and get a reaction, by the way. That was my true feelings.
That's that thing that like people do when they're like, "This is the greatest audience in the world."
Dallas, I love you.
I'm here in the greatest city in the world. Everybody cheers. Yeah, no, I mean, I feel confident because I've watched Kyrie, and I've watched what Kyrie's done for 2 games now, and I go, that he's just not going to do that this many times. And if he does, you tip your hat and you say, all right, that was it. It just wasn't going to happen. Magical run, great. Maybe we were just happy to be here. Like in the end. It was the friends we made along the way, and the friends we did not make with Thunder fans.
Thunder fans, I actually feel like we're a decently cool fan base, from my experience at least. Celtics fans are irredeemable for a lot of different reasons.
I spent an entire week there, and I would have to agree.
The Locked On comment section is great. And it's just like mean. It's like, you guys really still think you have a chance to win? Well, yeah, what am I supposed to say, dude?
I do feel like that's all the comments we got today are like, how could you think that this Mavs team is an actual NBA team?
I've seen a lot of Mavs fans say that too, man. Get your mind out of the damn gutter. It's the NBA Finals. They're down 2-0, and you expect us just to be like, yeah, it's over, guys. Just wrap it up now.
We called this a Mavs rally, and you are maybe one of the best at rallying troops. There's a cult leader-like personality of you.
You know what's funny is people get mad at me all the time for being pessimistic.
Give the crowd here your best pitch.
All right.
They win Game 3. Give them, this is why they're going to win Game 3.
Well, look, I said this in a video. You can't sit here and try to game-by-game break down the series, but you just got to take it one game at a time. You win Game 3, it's 2-1. You're back in business. You win Game 4 on Friday, 2-2, 3-2 series. You have Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, who are the 2 best closers, the best closing duo in the NBA at least. Luka Doncic, who's played like the best player in the world for like 5 or 6 months now. And with those 2 in your back pocket, you could beat any team. It doesn't matter who. It could be the '96 Bulls, the 2017 Golden State Warriors. Like, that's just the power those 2 punch. That's just the power those 2 have, right? So you just got to take it a game at a time. That's really what it is. And if you win tomorrow night, you're back in business.
You're back in business. You've got the best player in the world on your side, and the Mavs just have to keep it close. And there are ways they can do it. Their defense has been good enough for them to win these games. And a couple points here and there, literally like a 5-point swing or a 6-point swing would have changed the game completely last game. I think you get those at home, and I think you don't get the, Porzingis going off for 18 points in the first quarter or the first half of Game 1. I don't think you get the Jrue Holiday gets 7 buckets right at the rim. I don't think you get that in Dallas. I think that those things maybe swing towards the Mavs role players, and if that happens, you keep it close to the end, and then Luka and Kyrie come in to close, and if Kyrie doesn't just completely pee down his own leg, the Mavs should win Game 3. That's how I feel about it. I do feel confident as well. Guys,
I'm not going to lie.
You got to say the thing.
One more thing, King.
Hey!
The Vegas line surprises me a little bit because that's like a
2.5?
It's like a 9-point swing from Game 2.
Yeah, it was 6.5 for both Game 1 and Game 2.
They got to 7.5, I think, in Game 2.
Yeah. But there's something about a team that goes down 0-2 that you're like, all right, we're going to put...
True.
There's something to that.
It's their best effort.
So, There you go, guys. Thanks so much for listening to me on Locked On Mavs. If you're listening at home, we appreciate each and every one of you. If you're here at Four Corners Brewery,
Dallas, Texas.
Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom!
Mavs in 7. That's what it always was.
You had it Mavs in 7 from the beginning?
I did have Mavs in 7 from the beginning.